And therefore, and you have the capture of Tory Island, a big section of Ireland by Africans. Okay, this is in Britain next. There you find, this is in the Royal Annals of Britain, the figure with the peculiar here, very unlike the Anglo-Saxon here, with features, etc., and crowns, etc. Next. This is a black knight being married to an Anglo-Saxon lady. This is also from British history. Next. This is in northern Europe now. This is among the Vikings. Next. This is one of the Danish warriors. Next. This is the Swedish warrior. I should mention that they found very tall, powerful blacks among the Vikings. The Vikings are white, but you have major black figures among the Vikings. Thorstein the Hunter, and Thorhall. These are powerful black figures that appear among the Vikings. And Gorman, the king of Ireland, one of the kings of Ireland, was black. Next. This is in Crete now, which had a profound influence, Minoan Crete, which had a profound influence on apart from Egypt, and Schliemann and Evans, who excavated Crete, came to the conclusion that this was an African civilization, or largely African civilization. Here you see this goes back more than 3,000 years. You could see the drawings of blacks. This is the war party. This is a navigation scene. Once again, look at the ships. This is more than 3,000 years ago. Look at the curve of the ships. Look at the people who are in the vessels, not just the rowers, but in the main vessel where the chief is. These are all black. Next. This is a stag hunt with the blacks again. Next. This is the army, captain of the Cretans, black. Next. This is a priest, Pylos, in Crete, black. This is to have a profound influence on Greek civilization, not just the, as I say, not just the Egyptian. Next. This is the god Bes with African type features. Next. This is Isis and suckling Horus. This was to be the prototype of the Black Madonna, which was to be found all across Europe. Even the Roman Emperor Caligula, that lunatic, had a shrine to Isis. Next. This is Isis again, arms outstretched. Next. This is the Black Diana. This is found in Europe. Next. Here again you see the Black Madonna. Face is changing now, where the face is becoming a little more European, but the black thing is retained. Next. And the idea. Here one very striking. This is in Spain. This is the Black Madonna and Child. These served as images of Mary and Jesus for many centuries until the time of Michelangelo. Next. This is the Black Pope, Pope Miltiades. This is a portrait done more than 1,000 years ago. It's been removed from the church. The Vatican probably has it, the original. This is 311 to 314 AD. This is the time during which Constantine was converted. Next. There are 25 saints in the Roman Church which are black. This is one of the most famous, Saint Maurice. This is the patron saint of Germany and Austria until the time of Hitler, when he was removed. Next. Here is Saint Maurice, very famous saint of the Roman Catholic Church. Next. This is Saint Benedict the Moor. Next. These are now one or two blacks who became very famous and boasted about their black blood, mixed blood. Alexander Dumas and Alexander Dumas Père became a very famous swordsman and lover and writer in France. Next. This is a black community found in Russia. Russians do not understand how they got there. Okay, that was found about 50 years ago. Next. This is boy who was adopted by the Russians, the Tsar of Russia, Peter the Great's court. He came to be known as Petrovich Hannibal. It's not to be confused with Hannibal the warrior. The International Commission by the Russians to negotiate a treaty between Sweden and Russia, a border dispute between Sweden and Russia. He also was an engineer. He was tutor in mathematics to the Crown Prince of Russia, and also he was responsible for a major section of Russia because Tsarina Elizabeth put him in charge of a great section of the peasantry. So he was greatly respected. He is the maternal grandfather of Pushkin. Next. This is Pushkin, who boasted about his black ancestry. He became the most famous poet in Russia. He transformed, the reason why he became so important is because he started to write for the people. The Russian language was only used by, as a literary language. The Russian language was used by many people, but as a literary language, it was not used a lot. French was used. It was disrespected by a lot of the Russians until Pushkin wrote, and Pushkin made the language come alive so that he became very famous. He, however, started to write for the people, causing disturbances so that the Tsar threatened him. He persisted, and he was banished. And then they felt sorry for him, and he was brought back from banishment. But after that, he was told not to write again, and he became a playboy and started running about the place with a lot of women. Eventually, he married a woman who had a love affair with the Russian officer, and Pushkin challenged him to a duel, and he was stabbed in the stomach and he died. But the Russians were so afraid of, because of his popularity, that students were forbidden to cut classes on the day that Pushkin died. But for many days afterwards, thousands of Russians filed past his bier. Next. Here's the Black Diana. Black Venus, Black Venus. Next. There was a great fascination with the black woman. So many the painters drew naked black women. And black women became to represent the most sensual woman in the world. And as a result, of that, many of the noblemen and kings desired black women. And there were lots of affairs between kings and black women. This is particularly true of the French kings and the Portuguese kings. It's also true of the Italian noblemen. You find, for example, the Medici as well as the Gonzagas, the two most powerful and richest families in Europe. They both had black women, and as a result of this, you have the next slide. You have the Duke of Florence. He was the son of a pope, the liaison between a pope, Pope Clement VIII, who was Cardinal de' Medici, and his mistress, producing the Duke of Florence, who was put in charge of a great part of Italy. Next. This is the Black Nun of Moray. This is the result of a liaison between Queen Therese of France and a black man in her court called Nabo. She had been very jealous because her husband, Louis XIV, was having an affair with a black woman, and to spite him, she had an affair with Nabo in court. And when this black child was born, the King of France said to his doctors, "How could I give birth to a black child?" The doctor said, "You see that black man in your court, Nabo? It is possible that while your wife was pregnant, he looked at her, and the child turned black." And the king said, "It must have been a very penetrating look." Anyway, This led to scandal, and she was smuggled into a monastery where they visited her for the rest of her life. They did not allow her to live in the palace. The Duke of Chartres fell in love with her, but could not get permission from King Louis XIV to marry her. So she was taken back to the monastery where she died. She's known as the Black Nun of Moray. Next. These are figures from the coins. Unfortunately, we haven't yet got, except in the book Great Black Leaders, we haven't got the coin of Hannibal. But these are figures who served in the great Carthaginian army under Hannibal when they defeated the Romans. Next. Next. This shows you the centers in Africa during the Middle Ages where learning began. It's not like the North Africa of today, which has been overwhelmed by a certain type. This was a very, very indigenously African, as they say, the Garamantes, indigenous black Africans, and people coming in from Arabia to try and bring about the Muslim conversion. Next. This is one of the chiefs of one of the Moorish sections of